And welcome in everybody to another episode of the High Low Sports podcast here on Belly Up Fantasy, as well as the High Low Sports account. And today we are doing our final NFL fantasy mock draft of the season. Kelcey, we've been doing a lot of rankings, a lot of predictions, a lot of over analyzing to the point where some random running back from the FCS is going to end up outscoring everybody that's picked up on the waiver wire in week 4. But we've gone through everything now, and we are a week away from the start of the season. So we're going to go ahead and start our final fantasy draft of the year. And this one's always fun because there's money and bragging rights on the line.
Yeah, it's funny because this isn't my final for the actual year. I do have one more, and that's my work league draft. But this is the one I probably care about the most, just because I don't want any of our friends to have bragging rights. No offense to anybody that's involved in this league, but you're not beating me. Sorry, it just can't happen again this year.
Exactly. I mean, last year we came right down to the wire as well. This year it's going to be an absolutely fun one. Kelcey, you've not got a chance to look at the draft yet, too. It was randomized 30 minutes ago. So, and you've been on the move since, basically until just now popped in. You ready to see where you'll be picking?
Yeah, I haven't even clicked on my phone. I'm still sitting on the main screen on my phone, just waiting to jump into the sleeper app. So yeah, I'm ready to see this.
We're gonna go and pop up the draft, and here we are. You, my friend, are about to be on the clock. You got the number 1 overall pick, good sir.
Why does this happen to me? I don't like this. This sucks. Okay, you know what? It's fine. It'll be okay. We'll make this work.
We'll make it work. And your timer is underway. It is 2 minutes per pick. And you know what, Kelcey, on you. We took this poll at Football Expo. Who would you take number one? We got an idea, but are you going to follow the trend here?
Yeah, I mean, we even had a robot AI tell us CMC is still the best number 1 overall pick here. I've had him last year. He did well for me last year. God, I'm going to get lambasted if I don't take him number 1, won't I? Yeah, you know what? We'll do it. We'll not overthink this one. We're just gonna go CMC.
All right, so a very chalk pick off the top. I'm surprised because one you were very nervous about taking.
Yeah, not my favorite pick at all. Far from my favorite pick. Literally the one I was least looking forward to is the number 1 overall pick.
I'm going to say, I'm surprised that you did not lean towards Tyreek after what he did for you last year. And when we kind of talked about it, he feels like he's a guaranteed 1,600 yarder. I'm surprised you didn't go with Tyreek over Justin Jefferson off the board at number 2. So I'm kind of surprised too. We haven't seen Tyreek yet.
Yeah, no Tyreek through 2. But hey, more power to was it Greg that took Justin a second. I don't know. I'm not going to complain. I did something that was unexpected and still no Tyreek after number 3. I'm really surprised.
All right, so with 2 top scoring receivers and the last scoring running back, there is Tyreek Hill. So we're cruising now. It looks like you set the bar with the chalk. Justin Jefferson as Breece Hall goes in the Korner Booth. Jet sticking with the Justin pick is Amon-Ra St. Brown up and cruising quickly. So I got to talk fast. I think Justin is quarterback proof. So still think he's going to cook his. We put in the group. Jared takes the first off the board at AJ Brown. So things are going very, very straight to the point. I'd say not too many. Not the players. At least the order is just a little different.
Yeah, it's no surprise really. I'm just. I guess the biggest thing I'm surprised about is Tyreek so far sliding that far. I mean,
you're saying we got back-to-back Eagles. The Saquon goes big number 8 and now on the clock. And this is a much harder choice we had planned on. I'm not going to lie. This is not whatsoever. So I am in the same thing you are. I don't know what I am going to do here. I have Marty Hyde as the top ranked receiver, but I don't want to take. It's not practice.
Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that for you. I mean, look, I don't know what you want to do, but good luck, sir.
Thanks. I can always count on you for motive. Last year I did take Bijan Robinson and so I could name my league Bed Bath and Bijan. That is the only reason I took him in round, and I got first and second place. So fear of picking based on the team name with Jameer from Detroit, and we will be known as the Miracle Workers. So Jameer Gibbs off the board and now pick number 10 still on the board. So I am very Chase. We got Bijan Robinson, Garrett Wilson. They're a very good players on the board. I do want to jump back to. Are you surprised to back Eagles in the first round? That the firepower weapons they had, we didn't see. Maybe Barkley slip to AJ Brown is. All right. I'll round out at the end of the draft. We have Jamar Chase and Bijan going back to back there. So now I'm right back clock where I get a chance to think. I'm gonna go a little bit outside a little bit wacky with this one. I'm going to go ahead with Jonathan Taylor. We're going to double down on running back. I'm going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs. Miracle work center. So I think this is going to be a very interesting. And right now we have Kate Ward. Now Saquon Barkley. Around the question is, will she go with another running back? Or I just dip on running back, so I'll be circling to Sam Laporta. We got a first end off of the board. A very good pick there, actually. Sam Laporta, a surefire multiple touchdown leader. And right now, as we have Kelcey rejoin us, boy, Sam Laporta, your saving grace from last year is now off the board early in round two. A little bit, you feeling it?
Yeah, I think it's a surprise, but not really. I'm not a big fan of his number one tight end on the board. I've never been a big fan of him being the number one tight end on the board, but I do understand why people are going with him. I just think, like all things, there's now tape on Laporta, so that's going to cause an potential drop in production. And yes, he's going to hopefully succeed, but will it be at the same level? I don't know.
It's a good question. We do have Korner Booth back on. I'm curious if he goes with his boy Jalen Hurts right here. I feel like last year he yelled at us for taking Jalen Hurts. Call me Deedstradamus because like these things is Jalen Hurts is taken, and then Garrett Wilson. So we do see we do have some too, and Matt kind of beat me to over under 3.5 on Jared's draft, and so far we were in the same. Jared is now 2 for 2. So I think we're gonna Jared's gonna have to rename his rules, as we do see Nate also from the corner booth take Wilson. So Nate going with the opposite strategy, dipping in receivers after I did running backs, and another tight end, Travis Kelce, off the board now too. So maybe I need to take tight end in my next pick. Maybe they're not here for me coming up.
Yeah, good luck if they're going to make it to you. I don't know, but for right now, it seems like I don't know. I don't even know what's going to be me when I get my pick in 4 picks. I really don't know where we're going to be at because obviously I'm probably not taking Kyron. I'm probably not taking any of the other running backs that are sitting there. So I have to figure out what the heck I'm going to do here. Which is, God, this is the thing I hate about some of these drafts is I just, you never know who you're going to pick. And everybody in this draft we know personally. So it becomes a little bit more difficult because I kind of had an idea what they're going to do and they like to spite me and make me struggle. So that's always fun.
Absolutely. And then this is one that I know you're going to love is Marvin Harrison Jr. going in round number 2 at the back end of it as well. So I know you were a component. We did ranking receivers, Marvin Harrison. Maybe not someone you'd want to take too early, but how do you feel with him in round 2 when you got a potential swing and you're pairing him with Tyreek Hill?
I still think it's too soon. I think as a second receiver, sure, that's fine. I don't like Marvin. I don't like taking rookies, first, second round. That's just seems crazy to me. They're unproven. And especially with Kyler, I have questions there. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think, sure, it'll work. I just don't think I take him in the first 5 rounds.
And then we do have the Bears now going with a former Packer, surprisingly enough, is Devontae Adams now going in round 2. And then Josh Jacobs too, Greg. That is a really good pick. I think Josh Jacobs is going to be a dog. And I think that was the one you had queued up, wasn't it? The look on your face.
That was absolutely the one I had queued up. Oh, that sucks. All right.
That one for you.
Yeah, you know what? All right, since I got a wrap around pick, so we'll make this a little more fun. We're gonna go Josh Allen number 1 and number 2. Oh, how much fun do we want to have with number 2?
You got to wait a long time, so don't have too much fun.
All right, we're gonna go Cooper Kupp number 2.
Ooh, okay, hold on. I want to hear your rationale, good sir, because there's still a Puka and a Nakua on the board, but you went not the first Ram off the board I expected this year. I want to let's hear it, sir.
Look, again, first year he did great. Second year, there's always a drop off without fail. Big reason why Puka stood up so well last year is he had a hurt Cooper Kupp, and he had a somewhat happy and not hurt Matthew Stafford. Well, now you have a fully healthy Matthew Stafford and a fully healthy Cooper Kupp and a running game where it seems like Sean McVay is not happy with anybody in that backfield. So that means that no matter what, whether it's Puka or Cooper, we're going to get 2 receivers that might go over 1,000 by the end of the season. I like Cooper a little bit more in the red zone than Puka, which seems a little silly considering what Puka is. He's a little bit taller, a little bit stronger. But we've seen Cooper Kupp be the best receiver in the league. We've seen him set records for receivers, win the Triple Crown as a receiver. Puka's just had a really good 1 year. I've been a Cooper Kupp fan since he was at Eastern Washington. So I'm going to continue that fandom just a little bit further.
You know what? I like the pick. And Puka has been injured all of training camp too. He's even questionable right now. I think he's going to play. It looks like all signs point to him being okay. But I'm in the same boat as you. Between the two, I was leaning more towards Cooper. And I don't know if he'd have been here for you in round 4. So you know what? It might not be a bad pick. Is I do got to point out a certain thing with a certain theme that I'm noticing with your team. Was this planned or was that just something that happened to fall the way it did?
What's that?
Oh, you know what? I'm just going to rely on the eye test on that one. But that just funny how that
no,
you're
honestly,
building a New England Patriots dynasty or late 2010 New England Patriots dynasty.
No, it wasn't intentional by any means. At least not the first 2 weren't. The third one did. It did come into my brain before I hit the draft. But yes, not intentional by any means. But you know what? White boy summer, right?
You're rolling into it as we now just recapping a few quick picks. We got Devon Achane pairing up with Tyreek Hill and Marvin, and then Isaiah Pacheco pairing up with Travis Kelce. So we got a couple of team stacks here going in back-to-back picks. I really do like that what Devon Achane can bring. My concern is it him? Is it Mostert? Is it Jalen Wright? And Devon Achane did miss quite a few games last year. In those games he played, mainly that Broncos one, he could be dynamic. My concern is him being out there. Isaiah Pacheco and Travis Kelce, I feel like the Chiefs offense is going to run through them, especially while Hollywood Brown is injured. And right now, Rashee Rice seems to be playing, but like that's a lot on that plate right now. I don't know how long that's going to last. I think Rashee Rice is a good sneaky mid-round pick, but I feel like it's the Pacheco Kelce show. And then Patrick Mahomes, you never can go wrong picking Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. No, I feel like that was the time to take Patty. I mean, I only took Josh Allen because Jalen Hurts was off the board, and I was going to wait another round to even consider a quarterback. So for me, the 4th round, because I was like, oh, well, we can wait. But once I see Jalen go off board, that means the next round there's going to be some quarterbacks going probably. So I didn't want to miss out on my chance to get a dual threat like Josh. And despite my passion for how good Patty could be this year, I don't think he was a better fantasy opportunity for me. Just because I don't know what I'm going to get out of CMC this year. So that's a little bit of my own personal concern. So yeah, I like the Patty pick. It wasn't for me, but I like the Patty pick there in 3rd round for sure.
Absolutely. And then we do have Kyron Williams. So Jared did not go 3 for 3 on Eagles. I thought this was Devontae Smith season 100%. I was already prepared for it. Then we got Nico Collins, who is sure to have 100 yards and a touchdown in week 1. Going to Kate at pick number 8. I am now up at pick number 9. I think I'm going to skip running back for this round just due to my last 2 picks. So we're going to go look at receiver. Puka Nacua is right there. I think this is the good spot for him as opposed to the 1st round where he's projected for a lot. But being who I am as a person, I'm going to bypass it. And I'm going to go with the guy who I put in my top 10 rankings. I'm going to take Chris Olave. I do think whether it is Derek Carr or Spencer Rattler, he's going to get a lot of burn. And I think last year's numbers, when Derek Carr got hurt, is when he had a couple of rough games. When Derek Carr was in there, Chris Olave was wildly productive still. And I think he's going to be even more productive in this new offense that's not going to be I can't remember their last offense coordinator's name off the top of my head. I think it was with McMichael, but his absolute love affair for using Taysom Hill in every situation he could, that is now out of there. And I do think they got the new OC comes from the Kubiak line. We saw what they did with Andre Johnson in Houston. They will get the number 1 receiver of the ball. And who else is Derek Carr / Spencer Rattler going to throw to? So I love Chris Olave here as opposed to the 2nd round where a lot of people, his ADP was.
Well, it's not going to be Mike Thomas because, performance enhancing drugs. Or sorry, personal behavior. My bad.
And I think they released him too as well. So on top of that, he's a free agent. And so they're not bringing him back either. It looks like maybe Rashid is there's Puka Nacua, so I will not be getting him back. And Jalen Waddle. I like that Jalen Waddle pick right here as well. So I'm now back on the clock. I'm kind of looking here. I kind of want to go with quarterback. I'm looking at Lamar Villas here, CJ Stroud. There's some good picks here, but I'm going to be stingy on quarterbacks one more time. I'm sorry.
What did you just say about Lamar? Oh, hold on. Can you go back to his nickname? What was that?
Lamar Villas.
Oh God.
Would you?
I didn't think you were gonna stoop to that level.
Don't blame me. Blame Madden 21.
I blame Russell Wilson for having to come up with a nickname for everything.
Okay, you do. Hold on now. Pause the draft. How dare you put those two in the same sentence? You take it back and you take it back right now.
No, I stick with what I said. Because Russell, then now everybody else has to give everybody a nickname. So, no.
You know what? We're going to complain about that later. But next up, I am now back on the clock. There are some receivers here I really like. I do like Drake London. This is a perfect spot for him. My only concern is I have Chris Olave, who has the exact same bye week. So I don't want my top 2 receivers to have that same bye week. So I am a little bit reluctant there to take him. But after carefully talking it through with myself, I am going to go ahead and take him anyway because this is a very, very good value spot for him. This wasn't the pick I wanted to make in this spot, but he's got 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns written all over him. I think in round 4, it feels unnecessary to not take him here. And if worse comes to worse, those are week 12 bye weeks. By that point, we have 3 or 5 different free agent receivers we're going to bring in due to injuries or just someone puka-nakuing or something. So it'll work itself out.
So I just have to know, how did that conversation with yourself go? Did it go something along the lines of, I don't know about Drake London this year. Oh wait, Kirk 2 changes the quarterback there. So now I'm going Drake London. Is that kind of how that went?
Close. The thought process was, damn, this is a great spot for Drake London, but damn, I don't like that the back-to-back 12s. But DJ Moore is right there, who just went off the board, who the two I was tearing up, kind of in my head, wrestling up between the two. So looks like I made the right choice here, I would say. But I think Drake London's going to have more touchdown opportunities. I mean, he's 6'5" and dunks on people. That's his specialty coming out of USC, and why he's pick number 7. And now, whether it is for Kirk O'Chains or our boy Michael Penix, Penix is going to put it up there one way or the other. Like, we know that. We saw it with Roma Dunze. Kirk Cousins, despite all his faults, he will put it up there. Not in the fourth quarter, but through 3 quarters, he will put it up there. Justin Jefferson comes to mind. I mean, we've seen him do it. So I felt good about that. As we got 2 49ers and old reliable Mike Evans, who was in that conversation with me as well, with myself when I was trying to decide who I was going to take. And then we do have Lamar, not Lamarvelous, Jackson going to Devin, who in our league, the league we were in 3 years ago, he actually, during Lamar's MVP season, he had Lamar and Mark Ingram and ran through everybody in the regular season. So he's almost doubling down on that. And I guarantee you, he would have taken Derrick Henry if Derrick Henry slid 1 more spot instead of Devin H. And he would have doubled down on that strategy.
Yeah, I'm surprised though, and I don't want to speak this into existence too soon until it's my pick. But I'll come back to this in a second. But I do just want to look at the. Okay, well, there we go. Never mind. That was what I expected to happen. All right, I can say it now. I'm surprised that we made it this far with this many tight ends still on the board. That is not going to be my first pick here. It is going to 100% go to the other Cook brother, the Cook brother that I actually think is going to do well this year, and James. And then I'm going to go play with tight ends. And you mentioned Lamar a bunch. So I'm going to take Lamar's favorite target in the world when he's healthy, and probably even when he's not healthy, Mark Andrews.
You are not beating the allegations right now, sir. You are not beating the New England Patriot allegations.
I have James Cook. What are you talking about?
Yeah, they had James White.
I honestly, I'm not even thinking, like, it is not even a conscious thought in my brain, and it just keeps happening this way. I cannot help it.
We have Alvin Kamara next. I really like what Greg here is doing with the second pick. That is always a hard spot to pick because you don't get the number 1 rated player. But Justin Jefferson, DK Metcalf, that's an
I should point out that twice now, the person that I had queued up has been taken by Greg on that wraparound, which is the Josh Jacobs and DK Metcalf picks.
That Josh Jacobs one, that's still a sneaky good pick. Like, I would have considered him on my swing pick if Jonathan Taylor, and depending on how the draft goes, that's a really good pick. ETN is a big time pick there, as well as we're cruising now. CJ Stroud off the board, and his new best friend Stephon Diggs, followed by Michael Pittman and Rashid White, off the board. I do want to also point out too, Alvin Kamara coming off the board, in a surprising spot. I think it's a good pick because we talked about Chris Olave is going to get the ball for receivers. Derek Carr is not afraid to check it down. Life is not too short to check down when he's on the field. So considering it's a PPR league, I think Alvin Kamara here's a sneaky good value pick, seeing as how he's your 3rd running back flex type player.
I just always wonder about Alvin Kamara because it still shocks me to this day that he has never had a 1,000-yard season. 1,000-yard rushing. He's had 1,000 yards total a couple times actually, but never 1,000 yards received or rushing, and that's just kind of crazy to me, considering how good he has been for fantasy players. But yeah, it's, I don't hate it. I just always am a little worried there that maybe you get a little shaft because New Orleans hates you when you get inside the 20s.
That is very, very late. And I do want it really quickly as I'm up now. Jared taking everybody's favorite running back in this entire thing, Ken Walker. I think everybody in here is in some way, shape, or form a Ken Walker stan. Kate doubling down on the Bears, now taking DeAndre Swift. And
we're not allowed to share any information with Kate anymore. If she takes another one of my players on this wraparound pick, I might just quit.
That was an exclusively a Taylor Swift related pick. I can guarantee that is for team name purposes only.
100%, probably. But it doesn't make me feel any better about the fact that she took DJ Moore and then DeAndre Swift on this pick.
And you know what? I apologize in advance if I'm taking one of your future picks, but he's not going to make it to you. I'm going to go with another Eagle off the board. We are taking Smitty Devontae Smith, who I've been bullish on. I think this is an even more breakout season for him. 90+ catches, 1,200+ yards, 6, 7, 8 touchdowns. I think in the Kellen Moore offense, he's going to be what Keenan Allen was last year, what Amari and CD were as well. I think A.J. Brown's going to get his, But those quick reads into the blitz, those quick options, I think Devontae is going to cook this season. So I'm taking Smitty. We see a whole lot of Eagles goes. And now we got a Bengal and a former Bengal, back-to-back Joes off the board now as it swings back to me mid-sentence. And we have a request. Nate has asked me to save Malik Neighbors for him. Because he has asked that, I will be taking Malik Neighbors with this pick right now to take the high upside rookie. I'm just joking. I won't be going that far. But
I'm not happy with you. I would have done it right then and then said it.
I really thought about it. I actually looking at it. I'm going to take the Devin strategy. He is there. I'm going to go with Anthony Richardson. We're gonna double down on the backfield with the Colts. That's a lot of touchdown production. Dangerous strategy, bold move, Cotton. We'll see if it pays off. But I just think they get in the red zone. That's a lot of touchdowns between the two of them.
It's funny because we also got a text in our group chat while this was happening with Kate asking if I was going to take the Bo Nix experience. I don't think she realizes that I'm the all white guy team over there on the left with Josh Allen. I don't need a Bo Nix to add to the white guy quarterback situation that's happening. I didn't need to, again, not intentional. I'm just losing my mind with everybody else getting taken in front of me.
You know what? It only gets better from here, right? As we do see. So you know what, Nate, I will let you know, Nate, though, there is another Giants fan picking before you. So Malik Neighbors might not make it to you. So I did my part. Can't promise anything after the point. And you know what? Zay Flowers off the board. So you know
Jared's taking Malik Neighbors right here.
100% out of spite. It might be against his religion to take a Giants, but it is right there. I do want to point out Zay Flowers too. I'm very curious what kind of season he's going to have. Last year it was for a rookie season, I thought it was very, very good. Wasn't like explosively ridiculous. It wasn't Puka Nacua or anything like that, but I think he was a very good, very, very good pick. And I think he's going to get a lot more targets this year as it looks like there will be an opening at the Korner Booth as Nate will be leaving if Malik Neighbors does head over to Jared's team. So if anyone is looking to apply, go ahead and message at BellyUpJared on X. But I do think that Zay Flowers is going to see a large target increase without Odell there, with Rashad Bateman, the injury concerns as well. Mark Andrews, I think he's still going to get his, but maybe in a different type of way with the injuries. So I think Zay Flowers is poised to have, I'm trying to think of like a comparison, like those kind of guys that get a bunch of targets, maybe not the touchdowns or big yards, but they'll just get so many targets and so many opportunities. So I think Zay Flowers on a week-to-week basis is a very good pick here. Almost the opposite of Nico Collins, as she took earlier, who is nothing under 30 yards, bombs away. We got Tank Dell underneath.
Yeah, I was trying to think of the guy from the Seahawks, Doug Baldwin who I was trying to think of, where it's a ton of receptions, just a ton of underneath targets, 20 yards max. And then, yeah, that's what Zay Flowers is probably going to be. I agree. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he's able to do this year. But I don't know, man, that team is loaded. So a lot of mouths to feed in Baltimore.
Absolutely. And I do want to point out, I think I just helped Jared make that pick too, as I mentioned Tank Dell, and sure enough, Tank Dell goes off the board as Nate decides to take
bold move, Nate.
You know what? All right. You know, if Malik Neighbors is there for him, you take him and you don't look back. We did our part. This is on him now.
Bold move, Cotton. You really think he's going to make it past my double pick here? I'm sorry. That's not even possible. That's if he even makes it to me. I don't even think he's going to make it to me, to be honest.
You know what? He is the top-rated player on the board still, right now. So that'll be very curious. I do want to point out, I like the pick here by Matt with James Conner. That I think he has in that passing offense we talked about, it's Kyler Thunder to Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride. I think James Conner could be kind of that extra option. We know Zay Jones is unfortunately injured right now, so we won't get to see it, or suspended, so we won't see him for a bit. But I like that James Conner pick, especially for early in the season before Trey Benson kind of starts to take off. So,
James Conner never hurts anything. Look, I feel like at this point in time, if you underestimate James Conner for the first half of the season, you're really messing up. He carried me through 6 weeks before he got injured last year.
Exactly. I want to point out too, the Kyle Pitts experience is still live and strong. In round 6, this is the year, right? This is the year that Kyle Pitts finally gets involved outside of 2 weeks in the season. Arthur Smith is gone. There are 2 quarterbacks in Atlanta now as opposed to none. This is the year, right? We finally see the Kyle Pitts experience in full force.
I will take this year off, and if I get beat by Kyle Pitts every time I match up with Devin, that will be okay with me because I don't risk getting burned yet again by the Kyle Pitts experience.
It gives and it taketh away, as we do see David Montgomery going next, the high volume touchdown scores. Well, my curious thought with him is I think this is a good spot for him is last year, obviously, he was the main force to start with. That's why Jaden Daniels. Okay, hold on. Now,
I was wondering what he was going to do.
Montgomery, but I like that Jaden Daniels pick here because RG3 rookie year or something similar, that Cliff Kingsbury offense, nothing else fantasy-wise. Assuming he doesn't break on those cartoonish-looking hit sticks he takes, he is going to be electric. But, sir, you are on the clock. I will circle back to Montgomery after your back-to-backs.
Yeah, so I have a 1 wide receiver spot open and my 2 flexes open still. And Malik Neighbors is sitting there, and I don't have a problem drafting a receiver just to sit there and maybe just to spite Nate here. Before I do that, I feel like I need to get a receiver that's gonna get me something week in and week out. And this might shock some folks. I hope not. If you know me by now, it probably won't shock you. But I'm going T. Higgins with first pick.
That's like the pick out of all of them you've taken. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's the one that just makes the most sense for me. All right.
Neighbors.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna spite Nate here with this Neighbors pick. Sorry, you can come try to get him, Nate, if you want him.
We can strike up a trade if you want. Maybe a pick swap here or there, maybe.
Yeah, but you know what? This is no pick swap. No, you give me something that you've already drafted. It's got to be off the board already.
All right. Well, maybe the George Kittle pick. Then maybe that one.
It might be a Mike Evans for Malik Neighbors situation here.
Now we're getting somewhere. I do want to circle back to Montgomery too. I think that I'm very interested because obviously last year he was the guy we talked about a lot that we would take kind of in this spot because he was going to get all the touchdowns, the Jamal Williams role. As the season went along last year, though, we did see Jahmyr Gibbs kind of steal a lot of those touches, even in the red zone as well. So I'm curious, does that continue? Or what do we kind of see? I'm curious what the Montgomery role is going to be this year. And of course, the key is they both have to stay healthy. And I do also see Neighbors for Ryan Flower. We'll see how that goes. We do see Roma Dunze and Aaron Jones off the board in back-to-back picks. So we've got a conglomeration of Bears so far coming off too. We got two of the receivers, a running back, not even the most notable receiver in Keenan Allen yet coming off. So is this going to be a Bears and Eagles centric draft? It feels like through the first 7 rounds, it's starting to feel like it. All we need is someone to take care of.
Both of those teams just crash out. That's my hope right now for this fantasy draft. Not for my other fantasy teams, but this one specifically. I just need both of those teams to just suck this year. By the way, I do need to throw this up here. So this is actually really interesting. When you come to after round 8, which is really when you get your first set of like starters, your team, you start drafting, you start to stack and then handcuff, and then either later mid in the draft, followed by a defense in the 12th or 13th round. So, essentially what they're saying is double up on team players from teams that you have. So the second running back, the second receiver, maybe a receiver running back combo, things like that type of thing. Handcuffing being in case somebody gets hurt who has often, a lot of injury issues, they get hurt, and then you want to handcuff the guy who gets him, you take their backup. And that kind of just stash them and not really use them. So I do like that strategy. I am a very spiteful person, so I have used that strategy before in the past. I don't think I'll be using it this year, but I don't hate this strategy, to be honest.
I will say some of the great spots to do that would be if David Montgomery lasts a little bit longer, me taking him to pair with Jahmyr Gibbs, or we do see the team that has Devon Achane, if they get Raheem Mostert or Jalen Wright later. That is, Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert were handcuffing each other because they just rotated getting hurt at that point. So like those are some opportunities there. Then the stack too, just for people who aren't aware, is right now we see it right now on the board. They have Brandon Ayuk. That'd be like if they take a Brock Purdy later to play quarterback to pair with him. So that way, when he throws a touchdown to Brandon Ayuk, they both party and everybody wins. But then when he throws a touchdown to Deebo Samuel, he gets pissed. So the good, the bad, and the ugly that comes with it. But
yeah, I just don't think Jared ever would have the audacity to take Brock Purdy, so we don't have to worry about that.
Not a chance in heck. Right now, he's trying to find an eagle to take too. Is Brock Bowers actually, not Dallas Goedert. I was about to make a Dallas Goedert tight end. Because you do see Jared Goff off the board now as well. So very sneaky good pick with Jared Goff, who was my late round sleeper to take instead of Anthony Rich to pair with Anthony Richardson in case he breaks again. But back on the clock, I'm kind of looking at the team. Tight end is kind of an open spot for me. I do like a few of them there. Although I am very, very high on what George Pickens is going to do this year. So I'm going to go ahead and snag George Pickens right now as my extra receiver / flex option. Who else are they going to throw to on that team? Like who? Yeah. Have Freiermuth. Arthur Smith hates throwing to the starting tight ends. Ask Kyle Pitts. Like even when he was in Tennessee, he hated the starting.
No. When he was in Tennessee, he loved his starting tight ends. He loved Jono and he loved Hunter Henry a lot. That's what got him paid.
In there, he loved Jonnu Smith, yes, but Jonnu Smith's not there. So, but what he did love is AJ Brown and George Pickens. I think he's gonna play that AJ Brown role where it's play action dig route. And we know Justin Fields has the tendency to lock on to receiver one, and that ball's going up to him. Whether he's open or he's double covered or he's not open, the ball's going to him, or at least in his vicinity. So I feel good with the opportunity with George Pickens there. And Russell Wilson, we know nothing under 50 yards. So that's pretty straightforward there. Once again, I'm going to go with the same. I'm loaded at receiver right now, so I don't really need another one. However, I'm very, very greedy, and I'm going to take what I think could be a breakout receiver. It's going to get real scary is we're going to take Terry. Jaden Daniels at quarterback. They just traded Jahan Dotson. in that offense that Cliff Kingsbury likes to run, Terry McLaurin's going to be one-on-one a lot because they're good, like they did with DeAndre Hopkins in Arizona. We've seen what Terry does with nobody at quarterback. Jaden Daniels at minimum is an upgrade over nothing. So I will overload on receivers and somebody could be trade bait later. But I feel pretty good about this. I think I got some mid-round gems here at wideout.
Yeah, no, I was hoping Terry slid a little bit further. I didn't want to reach for him in my wraparound pick just because I felt like that was too early. But now I'm regretting that decision.
If anyone checked out my Fantasy Fridays from last week too, Terry was one of the guys I highlighted, someone that could save you your league. I even put him in the thumbnail for everybody. I left him there.
Yeah.
His ADP was in round 7, and this is what we did. I waited. I gave everyone an opportunity. I even took Pickens. I do need a tight end, but you know what? That's a problem I will solve later. If anyone needs a receiver, I am in business. And my concerns about the week 12 with Drake London and Chris Olave, that is out the window right now. I am no longer concerned.
Yeah, you'll be more than fine. Between Pickens and McLaurin, you have Devontae. You're more than okay at that receiver position, no matter what you need to do to move things around.
Absolutely. And that was after stacking the top, in my opinion, 2 of the top 6 running backs on top of the top. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm liking my draft right now. My concern is I need Anthony to not break and I need him to slide. If he slides, I'm in good shape right now. But as we do have Jaden Reed going next, so
if I'm gonna be honest, my only concern with your team, top to bottom, and there's a theme through all of them, injuries. That goes from literally pick your first pick to the very end. Maybe Drake London is the exception in that group. But every single one seems to carry an injury. I guess Chris Olave in the NFL hasn't really carried an injury. But yeah, like the rest of them, there's a lot of injuries there. Potential for injuries there.
I will say Terry has been relatively stable considering he's had people try and kill him over his career. But I get what you're saying with between Anthony, JT, Jamirical Workers, which I took for the name. We've already established that. And Devontae Smith is still 195 pounds. But sometimes you got to risk it for the biscuit. Speaking of risking it too, I want to go point out at Kate's last couple of picks. We got Zay Flowers and Jaden Reed, 2 guys that do a lot of similar things that are going to lead to a lot of targets and just getting the ball in their hands. The end arounds, the jet sweeps, the goofy little shovel passes. I think those are some very high volume picks. Jared looks like he might let this one go to the CPU. I think he was broken now because there are no more Eagles left to take for him. So I think
he is Dallas Goedert still. Oh, Raheem Mostert. Okay.
You know what? That'll work. The computer did him a solid there, so it worked out. But as I was saying, I do like Jaden Reed and Zay Flowers as guys with very high volume opportunities there. As Raheem Mostert, that's a good pick there as well. And you know what? Nate's here. You could tell him what player you want and say you would maybe get and say you can get Malik Neighbors from. If there's somebody on the board you really want, you don't think will make there, strike a deal with Nate real quick.
Well, he offered Ryan Flournoy, and that's not going to happen. So let's really think realistically about that, Nate, and let's go ahead and offer up Mike Evans for Malik Neighbors if you really want him. So maybe draft another receiver to fill in your hole for when you lose Mike Evans.
Well, he'll be getting Malik Neighbors in return, so it'll be a receiver for receiver. But I get what you're saying. Let's actually take a look at some of his team at the top. You know what? He's good at receiver. Who are we kidding? Like he had the reverse strategy with me at running backs with 2 right off the top and then Mike Evans. And he's good. You don't have to worry about it. He's going to go with Keenan Allen. So you can't really go wrong with Keenan Allen, but I do worry about this year what opportunities he has as Jordan Love off the board next to. So we do see the quarterbacks starting to matriculate off the board slowly, and then Christian Kirk as well. So I'm very curious with these ones. I'm really curious what Keenan Allen's going to do in this new offense where there's a lot of mouths to feed.
Yeah, that is always a curiosity. What you're going to do when there are a lot of mouths to feed, when you have a new quarterback with Caleb, who obviously has a relationship with the new receiver in Rome. You have new running backs there. And on top of all that, you have a play caller who loves to spread the ball out. So now you have to answer the question of where are you going to go with it? You never know. And this is the first time he's probably not going to be the number 1 option. And that's going to be interesting to see how he does.
Absolutely. We saw last year when Shane Waldron was in Seattle, DK still got targets. Tyler Lockett still. JSN unfortunately kind of got locked out. It felt like I'm worried who is going to be that with the Bears. It could be Keenan, could end up being Rome. I don't think it'll be DJ. I don't think that's possible. And he's the highest paid player in Bears history. So that'd be malpractice if they did that. But you know what? We'll have to wait and see. And then Christian Kirk is off the board next to Devin's team as well. And Christian Kirk is always interesting to me because any given week, he's a top 5 receiving threat, but I always worry about those weeks in between. I don't know what it is because it feels like he should be the opposite. He should be a high volume target guy who just matriculates, gives you 15 points a week. But for some reason, I don't know. He's always interesting.
I have never had the luxury of playing Christian Kirk on the games that he goes off on, but I have owned Christian Kirk 3 seasons in a row. And I'll tell you that every year It gets worse and worse and worse because you get more and more frustrated every single time. You just don't know what to do with them. So, oh gosh, now I gotta go. All right. Well, I have that one flex spot open, so we're gonna have a little fun with these draft picks again. We're gonna go Zamir White, who I think is an underrated rookie, underrated running back within the running back cores, who's gonna be getting the carries that Josh Jacobs had to probably a whole nother level with this offense. I think what they're gonna want to do in Las Vegas is pretty much just trying to run it down your throat. So hopefully Zamir White might pay off for that. And then I'm gonna go with the most reliable target in Dallas, who's actually played this preseason, and that's Jake Ferguson. So I'm gonna take Dak's favorite target.
You know what? I think it's a really good pick to back up Mark Andrews, or you could toss him in the flex. I really like Jackson Smith and Jigba and Xavier Worthy, two guys that do the exact opposite things, but it could be really good in fantasy in those back-to-back picks for Greg. And I like Zach Moss. I still think he's going to be RB1 in Cincinnati. Both his ability to pass block, which they need, and be a receiving threat and just run the ball. He's the least pretty effective runner, it feels like, that we see. Like, there is nothing pretty about watching him play. It's just always effective. Like, it's never flashy. It's never on a highlight, but it's always, 90 yards on a touchdown. Well, that'll do.
Yeah, and I agree. I think, look, JSN, I was hoping slid to me. Xavier Worthy was my consideration for that pick with Ferguson. But yeah, I'm not for sure if I would have felt better taking those two over what I did. I just think Zamir White's kind of a sneaky pick, trying to be smarter than everybody else, I guess, is where we're at with that one. And Jake Ferguson, I know he's going to get targets because Dak loves tight ends. And that's just always going to be something I can slide into a flex and make it work.
I like the Zamir White pick because they're, like you say, Antonio Pierce is going to want to hammer the ball, and he's the most built running back for that. He's going to get a lot of opportunities. And on top of that, he's going to get the touchdown work because he's clearly the closest goal thing they have to a goal line back. That is for sure. We do see Caleb Williams going off the board. So him and Roma Dunze, even in fantasy football, paired together on the same team. Chris Godwin, target machine. Lad McConkey, Matt, I think that's one of the opportunities for, if it's not one of those main three receivers, that's the guy for a breakout rookie receiver season. Justin Herbert's going to find him. He's going to get, I won't lie, if I didn't already overload on receivers, he would have been one of my guys I like there as well. That's a really good pick. And then Tony Pollard tonight, I'm curious, back-to-back Titans as well. And then Calvin Ridley. So I'm really curious to see what Calvin Ridley does in this offense. I'm really curious to see what that means.
Yeah, I'm a Calvin Ridley hopeful. Meaning I hope Calvin Ridley does well. I can't lie and say that I expect him to do well in that offense because I really don't know what to expect from that offense, just all around. There's not a single thing in Tennessee that I really like, but we'll see. They might surprise some folks, and that might be how Calvin Ridley gets going. But it doesn't feel like Calvin Ridley is going to have a very successful year this first year under this new offense. It feels like it's going to be something that's going to take 2 years under to really get a good hold on this offense.
I will say, hopefully they just use him better than Jacksonville did, because they tried to basically play him like a 6'3" X receiver. So he got to fight off of the line every single time instead of letting him play a traditional Z, move him around type of thing. It's like, your receiver's 5'11", a buck 85. Why are you trying to have him fight 6'1" corners on the outside? Like, that was Doug Peterson deserves a lot of credit for a lot of things. He is a saint in Philadelphia. But what he did last year with Calvin Ridley needs to be studied, because the games they let him beat Calvin Ridley, he was incredible. But then those games in between, well, I traded him last year for Chris Olave. That worked out for me. So that's very curious, as we do have Kate back on the clock as it swings back to me. And I really want to take another receiver, but unfortunately there are none left that make sense here. So I will not be drafting another receiver with my next pick. But
well, don't tell her that yet. Let her take your corner receiver that doesn't matter yet. I'm kidding.
Yeah, you can take Jordan Addison or Hollywood Brown. Take one of them right now. Or let's look at the receiver board.
I would say, yeah. At the receiving position right now, there are a couple that I do like the options for. Keon, you just mentioned, being one. Deontay Johnson, I think, is an underrated pick here. Mm-hmm. I think as far as targets for Bryce goes, he's going to be one of the top targets all around, and might even lead the league in targets just based off of that. But she decided to go somewhere else.
We're going to go with Motor Devin Singletary. So, someone's got to replace the Saquon touches, and they definitely do not want Daniel Jones throwing the ball. So that kind of makes sense there. It's going to be Daniel Jones tripping on the 5-yard line after an 80-yard run, or Singletary getting the ball. So I think
Nate Pierce.
Sorry, Nate. Went right at you on that one. I do lack a very important position that is known as tight end. So I'm going to go with the target machine himself from last year in Evan Ingram. He's not going to score a lot of touchdowns, but tight ends, outside those top 3 or 4, you're not expecting a lot, really. You're just kind of hoping for little production and no goose eggs. Last year, he was top three or four scoring tight end, I believe it was. He was up there. So I feel comfortable with Evan Ingram here as my tight end late. And sorry, Nate, direct at you next time. My apologies, but this is what you get for finagling with Malik Neighbors. You don't do that in good faith, sir.
Yeah. I was giving you Malik that one opportunity for Malik. I wasn't going to give you two.
It fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, not going to happen. As we do see Dalton Schultz, and now we do see the tight end start as well, and Keon Coleman. So he's jumps off the board, potential number one target in Buffalo. We'll see how that one plays out for sure.
I think that Dalton Schultz pick, though, that is an underrated pick, and I considered doing it with the Jake Ferguson pick instead. But I like Dalton Schultz a lot, and I've talked about CJ a lot, where I think he's not going to necessarily have a step back, but he's going to maybe so he stays stagnant. That still means Dalton Schultz gets a huge chunk of yardage this year and a lot of different targets. So, definitely think that's a big pick there.
I'm going to get a lot of heat for this one. We're going David and Njoku. I'm joking. I already took a tight end, so we're good there. But I'm going to go take a look at running back. There's Nick Chubb is staring me right in the face, and the temptation is right there because we know what Nick Chubb can do. And when he's healthy, how ecstatic it would be. But instead, I'm going to take a different route. We're going to go with Jonathan Brooks. We're going to take the running back from Carolina as a long term. This is for me at the back end of the season because we already know the pup list, all of that sort of stuff there. So I'm taking Jonathan Brooks to come down in the back end of the season for me, basically.
And no surprise, Kate, right after you, who is a diehard Browns fan, decides to take the prince that was promised, David Njoku.
Yeah, I can't go wrong with taking Chief there. And if I wouldn't have taken Evan Ingram, I was taking David Njoku. Like I was taking between those two. And so that's a good pick. He was the back half of the season, the last 7 weeks, he was the second highest scoring tight end. And he was tied for the second in touchdowns scored by a tight end after going 6 weeks without scoring a touchdown.
What the problem between the two segments are? The starting quarterback for the two. One, Deshaun. The other, Joe Flacco.
Well, I think Jameis Winston can kind of revitalize some of that back half of the season that we saw when Jameis Winston inevitably comes in. So, we'll see how it goes. Javonte Williams, your guy, who I have a feeling you were kind of hoping to be there on the backswing for you going there as well.
Yeah, I was already eyeing that one down. I didn't think it was going to be – I had to worry about Jared, of all people, taking Javonte. But you know what? All right, that's fine. I will make up for that somewhere else. I will see. I definitely thought – I'll be honest. I'm going to say the name right here because I thought Jared was going to do this. I thought Jared was going Tyjae Spears, if I'm being honest. I thought that was going to be his dude. He already talked about how that's his pick for one of the best running backs to play this year, one of the surprise picks out of the AFC South for fantasy football, and I thought that's where he was going.
Absolutely. While we're waiting here, we did get a fun comment here. I'm going to throw this one to you, Kelcey. We got someone who had a 16-team PPR league and wants us to rank it. So I'm going to go down the list. They got Goff at quarterback, Aaron Jones and James Conner at running back, Tyreek Hill, I presume that's Tyreek, Nico Collins, Laporta, JSN, Brian Thomas, Trey Benson, Rico Dowdle, Darnell Mooney, Tyrone Tracy, and Stafford in a 16-man league. So that is 6 more picks than we have here. Kelcey, I'll let you go first. Go ahead. Let's give it a letter grade and point out something that you like about it.
As a whole, I'm going to call that a B-. And I don't know where they were at in some of these options. I think there's a couple places here where I look at and I'm trying to go through the list of all right, so first pick was definitely Tyreek Hill. If I had to guess, second pick's probably Sam Laporta. Third pick, Jared Goff. Fourth pick, I'll say, third, fourth pick, Nico or Goff. And then fifth pick, Aaron Jones. If I had to guess, that's probably how that went. Tyreek at the fifth pick is an A. But you know what? After that, I do wonder about the James Conner, Aaron Jones situation. How you fell to those two? Were there not any other running backs there? Because I just look at that James Conner pick, and I do like James Conner as a value pick. I don't like him as an early pick. And so Tyreek, Nico, then Laporta. Okay. So the first three I'm fine with, obviously. It's just those next two, I'm assuming, again, Aaron Jones, James Conner, and some combination there. You're not in an easy position. It's a 5th overall pick. So right in the middle of that draft, really. But I think it's a B-. I don't think it's a bad situation. I would look towards James Conner maybe being replaced after week 4 or 5 this year, maybe even 6 or 7, just because of the way he kind of plays. So maybe look towards some rookie running backs going forward, somebody who steps up. I do like Tyrone Tracy in your back end, though. I do like Brian Thomas and Matt Stafford as well. But and Trey Benson, I think even you kind of stack there with James Conner and Trey Benson. So you should be fine in the long run when Benson inevitably does replace Conner in my eyes. But I do like it, though. I mean, overall, I don't hate it by any means. B- is nothing bad. It just really depends on what you're going to do during the season. Maybe make things work out a little better
in a short amount of time, so I'll go quickly. B+, I love everything you talked about. I love Tyrone Tracy, Trey Benson. Not so much Rico Dowdle because I think he's going to get lost in the shuffle. I like Jared Goff and Stafford just because that's fun in itself on the surface, in addition to both being very good. I'm going to give it a B+, but the same thing you said, in a 16-man league, you are scarce. You can't really miss early. And Tyreek Hill, you're not missing early, really. Nico Collins, especially if you get points for 40-plus yard touchdowns, 50-yard touchdowns like we got, that's a good pick. So, Kelcey, you were on the clock for your swing, and Jared, you called it out, and it came right to you. You spoke it into existence.
Yeah, I wasn't going to skip on that one at all. I like that. I do like Tyjae Spears. I agree with Jared's assumption of him. I do think he's one of the best kind of surprises for this year. And I also think here we are sitting in, round 11 or round 10 at that point in time. Last pick of round 10. I can live with that. If he doesn't work out, okay, so be it. I'm not cutting a top 5 player. So that's okay. And then this next pick, I'm probably just going to kind of try to protect myself here with a quarterback who's going to give me some points. And I will never go Dak Prescott for all those wondering. I just refuse to as a Cowboys fan. I will not go Dak. But that's not to say Dak isn't a good option. I am going to go actually with, we'll go Tua. Just because I think Tua is going to always put up yardage any given point in time.
And this is why I wish you'd have taken Tyreek Hill number 1 overall, because that would have been fun. You could have stockpiled them both. That would have been great. So that's a good pick. It's all reliable. And we got to circle back to what's going on right before and right after.
I can't. I didn't want to touch on it because I'm mad about it already.
We got Justin Tucker and Harrison Butker. We got 2 kickers off the board here in round 11, and the defense. So Greg with an unconventional, but you got the best special teams and kicker,
guaranteed
best
points
and kicker on the board. So like you're solidified there. So like, maybe early, but if you feel comfortable, you don't like anyone else, you got the best defense and the best kicker. That's interesting. I'm very interested. And I like Christian Watson there in that pick in the 10th round too. I think now that his hamstrings are closer to the same size and he's not going to be broken all season, I think he is going to offer some huge play potential, Nico Collins-esque. So there's a lot of really good value on here that I'm not one to say like, hey, Justin Tucker and the 49ers is a reach here, because as soon as I play, those two are going to combine for 45 points and toast me when I play. It's interesting, though, because most people would say, how dare you? But when you actually look at it, you got the top. We graded this at the end. You would have 2 marks for A+ in those 2 spots.
Yeah, no, we've talked about this before on the show. I am a strong believer in taking kickers when you know you're going to get guaranteed points. Justin Tucker, you're getting guaranteed points. Harrison Butker, on the field, you're going to get guaranteed points from him just because the Chiefs are going to score. Now, he just has to hit his field goals, so that's a different conversation. But Justin Tucker, you don't have to worry about misses. The guy is the most accurate kicker in all of all time.
Second, and Young Huku hasn't beat by 0.01 point right now.
Sorry, you're right. My bad, Young Huku. But who's not getting as many opportunities. Yeah, Young Huku is not getting as many opportunities as he once was. So Justin Tucker can again walk away with this one. But yeah, no, I like Justin Tucker as an option. I was just trying to ignore it and pretend it didn't happen, so I wasn't going to be super mad about it. But I'm a big fan of it. I was trying to be sneaky and wait until the 12th round and be able to like, oh, I got the kickers. No, yeah, this is a bummer.
Absolutely. And I also want to point out too, Brian Robinson and Gus Edwards. I like those picks back to back. I actually had Gus Edwards in my fantasy sleepers based on their ADP in that last Fantasy Fridays video. He is going, God damn it, Nate. I lost my entire train of thought now. Take a moment, take a deep breath. All right, we're good now. Those guys are going to score a lot of the touchdowns because I think the Chargers, they're gonna have a running back by committee. I don't know who the 3 running backs are going to be, but they're all 3 going to touch the ball. Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler might get the in-between yardage. I think they're going to be touchdown guys. You put them in the flex, they can get you like 10 points on a week. They score a touchdown. I really like those. I like those picks in that spot. Deontay Johnson, Nate, for all of the things he just said that made me giggle, that's a really sneaky good value pick there. Week 1, Deontay Johnson over 70 yards. I say book it now. 70. If you're a betting man, I don't know what his over-under for yards are, but we're taking the over for week 1 against the Saints. I think, as you mentioned, Bryce Young needs somebody that can get open quickly. He can do that. They want to get the ball out of his hands. And most importantly, you want to build confidence in him after what you saw last year. Dave Canales, the new head coach, knows that. And Adam Thielen's not getting open quickly anymore. That man is 40 and was never known for an athlete. He was the first guy in, last guy out type of guy. So we're going to say, I like this Deontay Johnson pick. I think he's going to be very, very effective throughout the season, but especially early.
I believe I called this a value pick 2 rounds ago. I still feel the same. Now it becomes extra value. I'm just going back through my text now and seeing where I just have pissed off multiple people in our league already with my draft picks. I got Devin with the Mark Andrews pick early, and I got Kate with the Tua pick. So yes, job successful.
From the first overall pick spot where you're not exactly known for getting other people necessarily. That's not really a spot where you can screw other people. You found a way to do it. Very proud of you, good sir.
I do what I can.
And you did it in the most unconventional way possible. So I also want to point out Hollywood Brown for Jared is a very good pick as the Ravens defense. So we spoke defense into his. I'm going to take a moment here because this one I thought you were going to take it from me too. I was prepared to be mad at you when you took Tua. Anthony Richardson is awesome, but you are worried about that injury concern. And I talked about this one also in our fantasy rankings. We are going to take Mr. Krabs Legs himself, Kyler Murray. He has a week 10 bye week. Anthony's week 14. So they're a little close in that leg. I kind of wanted Jared Goff here was a preferred choice, but he is well gone because of the week 5 bye week. But now, if God forbid one of them goes down, I have a security option that has a similar type of upside. When Kyler's not broken, those 2.5 years, I think it was, before the wheels came off for the entire Cardinals team when they were at his second and third year, he was like 21 points a game. He won me a league in 2020 when he actually had somebody to throw the ball to. I think this year it's going to be similar. I think he's going to be awesome. And we do see Dak go right after Kyler Murray now and didn't wait on it.
You know, the reason why I didn't go Dak, and I'll explain on this a little bit more because I said it earlier. The reason why I don't pick Dak as my backup quarterback, and I won't pick him as a starter, is because he only provides one level of value nowadays. He doesn't provide that second depth of value he did in his early days. Ever since that ankle injury, you can count his rush yards on a single hand per game. And I don't mean that to slight him. It's just who he is. He doesn't trust running the ball anymore. So this is one of those situations where I get taking Dak this late. You just lost another guy who has an opportunity to move. We obviously had Caleb go off the board a little bit ago, a couple rounds earlier. There's not a lot of guys that can move around still at quarterback. So I don't hate the idea of going with Dak for sure for the receiving yards.
Absolutely. And when you have Dak and Joe Burrow to pick from, when they're both healthy, they're going to put it up through the air to where they're limited numbers on the ground. You know what? It's okay. When you get 400 yards and 4 touchdowns beating up on the NFC East like Dak does, you're good either way. So I like that pick there. And then pairing him with this kicker. So you get the double down on there as well. Next time up, I'm going to look at running back because one of mine is on the pup list to start with. This is tough because I kind of want all of them right now. There's a lot of really good value picks here. Trey Benson, as we mentioned, I think he could take over some of that James Conner role.
I know one you don't want, though.
Zeke, I think I would probably not take here, but I think that's still a good option. Chase Brown's I'm going to go with Jerome Ford, actually. We're going to go to Cleveland, and I'm going to take who looks like he's, by all intents and purposes, going to be the starting running back out of the gate. So Evan McPherson. Everyone's taking the defense and kicker, so maybe I made a mistake there. Maybe I shouldn't have taken Jerome Ford. Maybe I should have taken.
Somebody saw us put up the thing earlier about taking kickers in the middle rounds, and now here we are. Everybody's taking my philosophy from last year where I irritated everybody.
Well, now I'm irritated because now I'm going to end up with a kicker that I don't want. But you know what? I'm feeling good with the Jerome Ford pick because he's going to be RB1 at least to start. They just cut Deontay Foreman, I think it was, or Pierre Strong. One of them got cut. They don't have Deontay. Excuse me. Thank you. So I like this pick and Jerome Ford in the passing game. He's very dynamic. As now we see quarterbacks Trevor Lawrence and Brock Purdy going back to back too. So luckily those weren't guys you were looking at. Now I know in our other league you were looking for Trevor Lawrence and someone tried to steal him from you.
Yeah, no, I always look for Trevor Lawrence as a value pick for quarterback. Brock Purdy as a value pick as well is great. These are situations where we already have all quarterbacks taken, so a lot of these are second picks. So Brock Purdy after Patrick Mahomes, I don't think you can ask for a better situation there. But I will say there is still a quarterback on that board that I do like, and he's still there even after Aaron Rodgers went. That I do think is a value pick, and it's not that one, but there's one on that board. I know he's hurt right now, but I do like the value opportunities with him. Yep. Yeah, so that's if anybody didn't see his mouse, I don't want to say it out loud just yet, but you know what? I'll say it. Justin Herbert, I think, is a value pick for quarterbacks, where if he's not your starter, you have an opportunity with him to do something because that's going to give him time to work his way into this team, and you don't have to really worry about trying to put him as your starting quarterback week 1. He can be put into your starting quarterback after whoever your starter is has a couple bad weeks or goes on a bye. And then Justin Herbert's just launching rockets off of his right arm because if you haven't seen him throw the ball, it's one of the naturalist, most beautiful things you've ever seen. I'm a big fan of Justin Herbert still sitting there. I'm not going to take a third quarterback when it gets to me, but I do think that's one that for anybody looking for a second quarterback for sure, I think is an opportunity for him.
Also, speaking of second quarterbacks, we do see who used to be the first quarterback taken off the board not that long ago, too, and Aaron Rodgers here. And I want to scroll up and just take a look at his team really quick because at first glance, you might think he was a little bit of a Packers fan here, getting Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers a little bit ode to the glory days, but that is actually a Jets fan who will be pairing up Breece Hall and Aaron Rodgers. So that could be a very.
I like his whole team.
Rodgers throws to Aaron Jones. I think they're going to see that with Breece Hall. So I like that potential matchup if Aaron Rodgers comes back to form. Go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, no, I just like Matt's whole team, really. I like the Aaron Rodgers pick late. Jordan Love as your starting quarterback, I think, is underrated. I think he's really as far down as he was picked in this draft. I'm kind of surprised.
Wait, is he quarterback or does he start Aaron Rodgers?
I think he starts Jordan Love. I don't think he go any other route there. But I do like Travis Kelce, obviously number 1 tight end. Breece Hall, Isaiah Pacheco pairing. That's huge. I don't like his second receiver, but I think adding Amari there really balances that out where Michael Pittman's probably going to be more of your flex along with James Conner, maybe potentially Ladd McConkey. Again, Nick Chubb, probably don't expect him to start. Brian Robinson's a good spell back for fantasy purposes. But yeah, I think overall I like his picks all around.
Absolutely. We see a little run of rookies here leading up to you as Blake Corum and Brian Thomas go off the board and the explosive Jamison Williams. The 1 week's going to give you 40. I don't know which week it's going to be, but Jamison Williams will score 41 randomly this week off 3 catches for 190 yards and 2 touchdowns from just 9 rounds. But Kelcey, you are now up on the board. And do you now do the defense and the kicker route?
I'm actually strongly looking at it. The consideration is there. My problem with defense, if you go look at the defensive board right now, it's do I trust the Jets defense? No. Do I trust the Cowboys defense? No. I would have trusted the Cowboys defense a little bit more with Deron Bland there, but now he's out. So that's not going to work. The Browns defense, great at home, abysmal on the road.
I trust them for 8 games of the year.
Which I think might be the better option. The Buccaneers, they're rebuilding. Steelers, yes, you have Watt, but do you have everything else? Probably not. The Dolphins defense, I think, is underrated, but still not as good as it once was. Commanders, no. Eagles, there's opportunity there. Chiefs, they'd love to take the ball away. But you know what? I'm going to go back to the Cowboys. I'm going to do it. I don't like it, but I'm going to do it. Yeah, and that's going to set me up for my kicker because I have to do this, and I do this every year, and I always love this pick because he's always a top 5 kicker in the NFL. And everybody overlooks him because he's never top on the board. That is my guy from Auburn, Daniel Carlson.
You know what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they're going to get – and you know what? Your Justin Herbert advice was followed to a T as Herbert does pop off the board right afterwards as well. I think Carlson's kind of going to be very reliable there because I think the Raiders will move the ball, but I think they will have trouble capitalizing, which I think is going to be really good for Carlson. They'll get into that like the 30 yards, and then it'll just randomly stall when you can't throw it up as much. So I like that pick for sure, as we do see a couple of tight ends now off the board. And Dallas Goedert did not go to Jared's team. We need to put an APB out on him because I'm a little concerned he let Dallas Goedert go this far and not get
I'm shocked, actually, that he did not get Dallas Goedert. Does he even have a tight end is the question here.
Oh,
he does. He has only a Brock Bowers.
That's actually, you know what, that's not bad. We just talked about Raiders getting the ball. That might be pretty up on the list for sure. So, you know what, we wait and see as Matt takes the Jets defense. So we got. I like the homerism we're getting lining up right now as well. This is where we start to take the players from our teams that, okay, this will be fine. We got
I can't do that anymore.
We got Greg taking Jackson Smith and Jigba the last few rounds. We got the Bears, that speaks for itself, taking Cole Kmet, Caleb Williams. We got Matt taking the Jets and the Rodgers back to back. I like where we're going right now as well. So this is feeling pretty fun. Jared, it's time. Take the Eagles defense. Just speak it into existence, my friend.
I honestly do like the Eagles defense here. I just don't trust them. I just don't trust that secondary right now is a big thing. And I at least trust the Cowboys and Trayvon Diggs to either shut down somebody or pick the ball off, because it's going to be one or the other. He's either going to pick it off at a high rate, or he's going to let them, he's not going to pick anything off, but he's not going to let them get him over 40 yards. That just seems to be his career path. And based off that, I'm going to go with the first one because we're going to go eeny, meeny, miny, mo and go in a repetition here. So we're going to go with as many interceptions as I can hope for.
You know what? That makes sense because those will be what score you points as well. In this one too, the way the scoring is in this league, the interceptions, the takeaway gives you points, and also if you keep them under a certain amount of yards. So if you can get a team that just doesn't give up yards, you're in a beneficiary there, which will come from. Damn it, that was my pick. As you do get when you get some of those ones that hold them to low yards because of the sacks. Khalil Shakir was my next pick. It's been the Khalil Shakir bandwagon for me since he came out of college. He's on dynasty teams. It is finally time, and I do not get to enjoy it right now. I was going to ignore the Week 12 bye week, but all right, now I'm just going to go take my defense and kicker because now I'm sad.
that's what happens. You want to make the fun pick here, and then somebody takes it, and you're like, you know what, I'm done. Taking my defense, taking my special teams, just gonna get done with it.
I'm about to take Zeke out of rage, but I'm not going to do that. We're going to go.
Don't just plummet your team into the abyss.
We're going to take Nate's cousin. We're going to take Young Hoop. I do think there's going to be a lot of opportunity there with the way the offense is actually going to be able to move the ball this year. I think they're not going to be stuck in no man's land with Kirko/Penix. So, we're going to feel good with it. And yes, no one's going to take Daniel Jones. Don't worry.
I feel like that's going to wrap around just so Nate can finally take him.
That's fine. You can have him too, but I'm not trading your cousin though. Like I drafted him, he's staying on the team.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you for not drafting a kicker. Have we ever had a kicker draft or a trade yet? Because I feel like that needs to happen. We need to have a kicker for kicker trade.
Mama, I made it. I have made it, fam. I have arrived.
Is this the point where we mentioned that you're from California as well, so you were already invited?
No comment. I have made it. I withstood the test of times. You do see Tampa Bay's defense going next. And what I want to point out is an interesting anomaly in this draft, too, since it's a lot of fun here. We've seen a lot of kickers and defense go before round 14 out of 16. Normally, kickers and defense go in the last 2 rounds. We've seen a lot of people say, especially starting with Greg taking Justin Tucker, like, nah, I'm not taking scraps. I'm making sure I get mine ahead of time. Well, I'll get the bench warmers later.
What's funny about that, though, is I think I've gotten Greg with Justin Tucker a few times in our drafts in the past, where I've just managed to snipe him just before Greg got to take him. So I think this was just payback for all those years of doing that to him. But you know what? If it was not that and it was just unintentional, then yeah, this is what the fun is. But yeah, I do like this. This is what happens when you spend time with friends in a draft and people in a draft for years. Is you get a lot of people picking up on tendencies, so they know how to break your tendencies. So for Greg, for example, starting it earlier, knowing I won't just take a kicker out of spite right after that, I'm going to wait probably, which means I lose out on 2 more opportunities. And so I do like that type of opportunity, this type of strategy that some people play.
And real quickly, I'll wrap up this pick by just kind of saying what we've done. We've seen a lot of it recently as we kind of gone with some homer picks with some high upside. So I'm going to do the same. We're going to scroll down. We're going to go ahead and grab Adonai Mitchell. I think if he comes on strong, if he kind of down the stretch, him and Anthony Richardson are healthy, that could be a nice stack for me that I think could be proved beneficial as we go along. We'll wait and see. It does have 2 flex spots in this league too, so I could reasonably my loaded amount of receivers, there will be room for them. So that is for sure. So I feel good with AD Mitchell here, and I feel like I'm not reaching. If he doesn't work out, if it ends up being Alec Pierce 2.0, I'm not missing that much. But here's a fun question here that I kind of want to pop up. This one's for both of us here because we have to this. Oh, whoops, did I pick the right one? Yeah, here we go. After the 8 rounds, when you start stacking handcuff, what happened to the league?
We already had this one. This is the one you're going
there for. We go. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Draft order, no idea where they're picking. What's the best advice? Double hero. So this is where it's interesting too. So I'll go and start with mine. This one is very dependent on where you pick here, and I'm going to use our league that we've done so far for an example, at least off the top. I picked towards the back end of it, so I was able to do the double running back strategy here. 2 guys that I think could have gone up here, and it works very well. I think the chances of Jahmyr Gibbs and Jonathan Taylor both stinking are very, very low. Chance, just because we know how fantasy football is, you know how running backs are. Chances one of them stinks higher than we'd like to admit. Like any running back up here, all of them up here can end up being outside the top 10 very easily. Just how football works. But the chances of both of them stinking are very low. However, if I pick like right here where Nate is, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Garrett Wilson, that is an insane amount of targets. And now Garrett Wilson has a quarterback who will throw them inbounds to him, as opposed to the last couple of years where they were technically targets, but into the 3rd row. So I think just depending on where you pick and who's on the board, I do think the idea of doubling at a position early is not a bad idea. We see it here with CD Devontae, Tyreek Hill, Marvin Harrison. But at the same time, in your spot, you got a quarterback, running back, receiver out of the gate too. So it all just depends where you're on the board.
Yeah, I have a rough idea of what I want to do every place I could possibly pick, except for first overall. And the reason why I don't have one for the first overall is because you're almost forced into a first overall pick. And I talked about this when I first had my pick. You get made to feel stupid if you don't take CMC. And by what I mean by that is, if I don't take him and he goes off this year, I had a guaranteed top pick and didn't get the best overall player in fantasy. Mm-hmm. And that sucks. But then you also, at the same time, do you trust that a guy and especially a running back, can go top year after year, which has rarely ever happened? No. But at the same time, if you don't take him, again, you're made to look stupid. So for that, I'm like, all right, I have to take him. But when I draft in the middle, I usually try to take either best available running back or best available wide receiver as my first, and then double that on the next go around. Because then I don't have to worry about that position for at least 4 or 5 rounds. So I can take the second, third best running backs, in the draft, or I take the second and third best receivers in the draft, which I've done in a few, where it's like Tyreek Hill, and then on the background, coming back around, I take like Amon Ra or another top tier receiver. Like that's always the goal. But in the first, it always was randomized draft. You just have to kind of have a good understanding of what you're going into and go from there. So just when I say like good understanding, just have a plan, have a strategy, go do a bunch of mock drafts. I know it sounds silly, it's time consuming, but they do help for this type of things. If you're trying to win and trying to win for money, that's the thing to do to help. But if you're not, if you're just going and having fun, honestly, go and have fun with your picks as well. That's my best advice for that situation. But otherwise, advice is just to go plan it out in the mock draft, try to figure it out what you can beforehand, and then if you're in the middle, pick the best available. If you're in the either end, you can have a really solid strategy based off what you do in the first pick.
Absolutely. I will also add too, one thing is do not let ADP bully you. Just because somebody is expected to go in round 7, but you kind of want him, you don't want to risk it, don't take him in round 6. It's fine. Like if he's projected to go in round 8, but you have like you're going to pick late in round 8 because of the swing, take him in round 6 or 7. Like don't get bullied by ADP. If it's someone you really believe is going to break out, take your shot with it. Because as soon as you don't take him, someone else scoops him up, he's going to drop 40 on your head, and you're going to be pissed about it. So just don't let ADP bully you. That's the biggest thing too. Sometimes you can risk it a little bit. You can take a shot, and sometimes you'll get bullied, like when someone takes Khalil Shakir right before me. Or other times it'll work out, and you'll be able to get somebody like Kyler Murray late that you were planning on taking earlier. We do see you're up, and Mike Williams. All right, so he's been reliable for us in leagues we've had over the years. I mean, when he's healthy, he's been really nice. So I like this pick for you if he can just stay on the field.
Yeah, so this is where things get fun, right? Is the comment that we've seen in the chat a couple times, and it's my philosophy as well. Is I'm sitting here, I'm taking a guy who has returning to the game time. We've seen what he can do when he's healthy. He can succeed, and now he has Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball, which is a slight upgrade potentially from Justin Herbert, but not a big upgrade. So they're very similar in quarterback stylings. So he will throw in the ball. He will get him opportunity. With Gabe Davis, this is his first time to really stand up and be out of Stephon Diggs' shadow. And he has Trevor Lawrence. With all my love for Josh Allen, I will say Trevor Lawrence might be a better quarterback for Gabe Davis. As the way he throws the ball he throws, it's a very catchable ball. It helps Gabe Davis get open a little bit more where he doesn't have a lot of separation. So it does require a little bit more precise ball, which if there's ever any knock on Josh Allen, I think it's more precision than it is power for sure. And so this is one where I think Trevor Lawrence may be the better quarterback for him. And this is really just a high potential, low floor where if it booms, it booms. If it busts, so be it. It's my round 15 pick. I can live with that.
We did take him in our belly up league last year where we both drafted the team. If anyone remembers that one from last year where we basically rotated picks. And I remember there was one week I threw him in our starting lineup 2 minutes before kickoff just because someone got injured and he scored 20 points for us that week. Then the next week we didn't pull him out and he scored 2, which is the downside you get with him as well. But we'll see what it's like in Jacksonville because it's him, Brian Thomas, and Christian Kirk. I love Brian Thomas Jr., but expecting him to be Puka or Jamar Chase or something like that out of the gates, a little unreasonable. So we'll have to wait and see there for sure. We do got a Kirko chain sighting, though. Kirko coming off the board at an incredible value here as well. And the Eagles defense, Jared did not let us down. He did take the Eagles defense. So we did hit the over on Eagles players for Jared. So high five if he took the over.
I was saying, he still has a kicker to go, so you never know. He might take a kicker as well.
Okay, we already hit the over. We are set. I need a defense here, but I refuse to take a defense in this round, I think. Let's see. I'm tempted to just take like a very high upside player here as well, but I'm going to go ahead and look at defense. I'm just going to stay safe and take Kansas City. You get to play the Raiders and Gardner Minshew twice. I think you'll be able to get sacks and takeaways there. I do think they'll find a way to get sacks stuff. They'll find a way to be fine. So I'll take the Chiefs defense. It seems reliable. And they're going to force teams to have to throw with them, which means there is a good chance for a lot of sacks, takeaways, because they got to keep up with Patty in the offense. So I need a defense at this point. It's the last 2 rounds. I'll take Kansas City.
Yeah, you know what? I'll be honest. I'm surprised we've gone this far, and there's still a young quarterback on this board that nobody's taken that has a high upside. I just had to scroll through just to make sure he's still there, but he's still there. And you just passed him again.
Are we looking at Drake May?
No, keep going. Keep going up, back up to the top.
So it was Baker.
Nope, it was Bo Nix.
Well, that's because we're saving them for you. We already made that. We established that. That's your next.
I refuse to do it, but I just want to point that out. As far as a rookie quarterback goes that we know is starting and we know is on a team that they have no choice but to win, Bo Nix is the only opportunity there. And he has a top tier receiver that we know when healthy is good, which is something like Cam Sutton. Which again, I don't even think Cam Sutton went off the board.
Cortland Sutton, he went off.
Or Cortland, sorry.
He went over. I just saw him a minute ago, but he did come off the board a little bit ago. He is off the board.
Okay, so I'm shocked to see that we hadn't lost him. That he's still sitting there, and I'm just surprised, nonetheless, that Bo Nix is still hanging out there.
I mean, I believe in Bo, so I would take Bo right now if I need another quarterback. You know what? I might take Bo because I do have 2 quarterbacks that have missed time. So if Bo's here on my next pick, I will strongly consider it. Like he is here, I will strongly consider it, but I'm not going to because I just realized I only have 4 running backs on the squad, and one of them is not playing for a month. So I probably should look at running backs, and I do like your boy Zeke right here. I mean, and he's a good round 16 value, I would say. Chuba Hubbard, I think, would be a fun handcuff just in case Jonathan Brooks doesn't necessarily come back. So we're going to go and take Chuba Hubbard here just in the meantime, basically, because we know him and Miles Sanders are going to get the ball. So I'm going to take Chuba Hubbard just for now. We'll see. Just in case Brooks maybe doesn't come back right away, or if I have issues elsewhere at running back, or for some reason all of my receivers can't play in the flex.
Yeah, and this is the tough part with our draft, right? Is we're 16th round. I'm looking at this board, and man, there are picks all over the place. You mentioned 2 running backs. If somebody loves a running back heavy, touchdown heavy running back with Zeke, all right. Chuba Hubbard with a potential handcuff. There's a couple other guys down here with a potential handcuff. There's a starter that's still sitting here in the running back core. It's surprising to see these guys are still hanging around. But it's we'll see what ends up happening here for sure. Honestly, I'm surprised that maybe Jaleel McLaughlin hasn't gone off somebody's board yet.
I think he's coming off your board next. I'm also going to say Kamani Vidal, Marshawn Lloyd, Ray Davis, like elite Jalen Wright. One of those, at least 2 of those guys are going to get signed after week 1. But it's going to be a fight to the waiver wire for some of those guys. And we're going to look back and be like, why did I take Chuba Hubbard when I could have had him? Or why did I take this, that, and the other? So it's going to be fun circling back here as we are in the final round here, coming down to the nitty gritty. At least we saw a kicker go in the final round. We need a defense to go in the final round too, just to keep things the status quo, because you've already overdrafted him for just about everybody. So I need somebody.
I think Nate has to take a kick or take a defense right here.
I believe you're right, because he does have the newly re-signed Dicker, the kicker. So he does need a defense. So he will keep it true for us, and we'll take a defense here in the last round. Maybe the Giants defense. Just saying. Yeah, it's right there. But
I don't know if he trusts them enough to do that.
We're gonna put him to the fire, and here we go. Oh, and here we go. I missed this one too. From what I mentioned earlier, don't let ADP dictate your draft. All these smart drafts are different. So I'm glad to see that someone agrees with me. And Nate did follow my advice. He did take the Giants. So I just wanted to redouble down on that too. Don't let ADP dictate your draft, because the best ones are always seem to be the ones who don't follow it to a T. You can use it as a reference, but don't
use it to assist your own.
Exactly.
Do your own research at the end of the day. Like, if you have your own research, you'll trust whatever you do, and you can't blame it on anybody else other than your own picks. So I hate to say it that way, but that's how it feels. It just says, more or less, use it as a guide. Don't use it as a detail. Don't use it as the deciding factor for anything, but use it as a guide to help you to maybe set your list and set your own preferences. But definitely don't let it rule your whole draft, because it's just going to hurt you in the long run. ADP is nice, but it changes every week.
Exactly. And that's just the average position. When you are drafting with people, they are not necessarily the average is how many people do you think play fantasy football? Like that, over 1 billion probably. Like that's
way
a lot.
too many.
As far as people that just go through mocks that they gather that data for millions, like that's go with what feels right. If a guy's an ADP at like 65, but you really like him, take him in round 5. Then take him around early.
I feel like my special last pick of the draft is about to get stolen from me by Greg, and I don't like this feeling.
Don't worry, he'll leave Bo Nix for you. It'll be all good.
It's not Bo Nix. I would be happy if he took Bo Nix.
Well, then you know what, CPU is picking your last pick. You don't get to pick unless it's Bo Nix. Like, this has been established. The Bo Nix experience.
I will make my pick.
The NFL and fantasy football.
I refuse to accept the Bo Nix experience. If I hadn't been able to get Tua, I would have taken Bo Nix late in this draft. But I took Tua early.
You need a third string.
I don't think I do. All right, we're good. He got 2 defenses, and I honestly respect that option.
Especially the Texans, because if they get in shootouts, that pass rush with Will Anderson and Daniel Hunter, good luck.
Oof. All right. Well, in that case, then I'm going to take what I think might be one of the most surprising rookie receivers this year,
Xavier Legette.
Xavier Legette, and by far the best to talk to. I want to do an interview with Xavier Legette at some point in time this year. I guess it's Leggett. So yeah,
I love that I love that you made that pick. 'Cause if I didn't go with the homer pick of AD Mitchell, he was coming on the board too. In the same vein as Deontay Johnson, he's gonna get the ball. Bryce Young might have to just say screw it. He is out there somewhere, and he will be out there. He is physically freaky, to say the least. And like you said, the best interview too. Like I want to get him and Keelan Coleman on the same show at the same time.
Oh, I'd love it. You know what? Everybody complains because they're like, "Oh, I can't." Man, I understand every single word that comes out of Xavier's mouth, and I love it because he just sounds so humble. And honestly, every interview he's ever given sounds the same way. He's not the guy that's going to come out and just like he could drop 200 on somebody's head, and he's going to still come out and be like, "Oh, shucks, man." And I'm like, "Yes, thank you. I need more of this in my life. I need a non-diva receiver again. I need that in my life."
It's time. We're going to make it happen. But the draft is officially wrapped up here. It's going from we'll just take a quick end here over the entire draft board, kicking things off as 97% of drafts do with CMC, and rounding it out at the very end with Xavier Legette and a little bit of everything in between. Kelcey, we're going to take a quick end. We won't scroll through each and everybody's team. So obviously we like our own teams. You like your late 2000s Patriot squad. I like what I did there with the dual running backs and unlimited receivers afterwards. Tell me someone else's team besides your own that really stands out that you like. Like who's one squad that you look at? That really stands out. You're like, okay, that squad's going to annoy me, and I'm already not looking forward to playing them.
I think this one doesn't need to be particularly heavy on one person. One as far as one player on their team goes. I'm going to look at the very end of the draft. I'm going to Peyton and the Payco at the very end with Joe Burrow, Jalen Waddle, Jamar Chase, Puka, Bijan, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris, Dalton Schultz, Keon Coleman. His kicker is going to be consistent. His defense, if they work well. And I think an underrated one is Jerry Jeudy down there at the end that might end up in his starting lineup. I do like all around. And I think Luke Musgrave is a great pick for a tight end as well, who's going to get burned under Jordan Love. We saw it last year until he went down with injury. And then his backup came in and was the leading tight end for 3 weeks. It's like those type of things are just crazy how they happen. And so I think Peyton is trying to play the averages here. And he does a good job of making sure this team is pretty well set up for this season.
Absolutely as well. I like a lot of these teams too. I'm going to go ahead and look at Devin's team here, pick number 4, who I thought was going to go number 1 overall in Tyreek Hill. And Marvin Harrison, who I think, like you said, with the rookies too, obviously there are the questions about that. The one thing is I think he's going to get opportunities because he's the only receiver in the lineup over 6 feet tall, it feels like. And he's going to be the only one going down the field. So I think he will have opportunities maybe later in the season than early. Devon Achane, we know what he could do. Lamar is Lamar. Stephon Diggs, Kyle Pitts. This team is going to score 185 points at 1 week or something like that.
Yeah.
When the average would be like 110. So I don't know the exact scoring numbers because we haven't played yet. But the point is there's going to be 1 week where he's going to basically double up his opponent. And it's going to be me. I can already feel it. But there is explosive potential with that team on a week-to-week basis. That team's going to terrify me because it's going to do it against me. Guaranteed.
Yeah, I don't hate his team. But when I look at his team, the one concern I have is that running back group. And again, taking Marvin Harrison and Stephon Diggs, I do think those 2 receivers specifically have a lot to kind of like deal with. 2 separate reasons. Stephon Diggs, obviously, going to a new team, having all of that. Marvin Harrison, being the only thing in Arizona besides Trey McBride. And Kyler has never really been a guy who excels at giving one receiver a lot of points. He had DeAndre Hopkins, and DeAndre Hopkins was good for half of the season, but not always that top guy. That's the reason I didn't like his team as much. I do like it. There's no cutting, no getting around that. But I also like, in comparison, I just don't like the boom or bust options that are available and that are probably going to be in a starting rotation, like Kyle Pitts, Aaron Jones, Jalen Warren potentially, Christian Kirk. Those give me a little bit more pause than why I went with Peyton's team.
You say that because the week they play you is when they're going to be on the down streak and they're only going to score like 7.
Oh, no, never. Devin has my number.
Get $95, and I'm going to be like, wow, I'm the second highest scoring team, and I got doubled. Thanks.
Devin has my number every single time we play, except for in the playoffs. For some reason, the playoffs is when they play bad for him, and then I do okay.
Absolutely. And I do want to point out one other team, too, while we're here. The one that was picked right before me, who we were basically battling for players, I do like Kate's team with Saquon Barkley and Laporta. I know we talk about Laporta maybe early, but he's going to score touchdowns in that offense. We know that for sure. He's going to get opportunities. Nico Collins and DJ Moore, a little bit bear heavy back to back, but I do think rookie quarterback, check the ball down to your running back, get it out quickly. We know what DJ Moore can do. I really like this part of the draft too, is Zay Flowers, Jaden Reed, Jared Goff. That is the opposite of Devin's team, where they might not explode often, but boy, do you feel reliable with them getting you the 12 to 15 points a week with Reed, Zay Flowers, etc. David Njoku, this is a David Njoku stand account. Not a whole lot needs to be said there. Khalil Shakir, he's going to be in the starting lineup before the end of the season, guaranteed. I don't know whose spot he's taking, but he's going to be in there. And then Kirk O'Chains as well. I think it's a very, very, very solid team that I think is going to be very good throughout. And you do have that explosive element with Nico Collins, DJ Moore, guys who can randomly go get you 30 on any given day while having those middle pieces. So I think it's I don't want to say a chalk draft because that sounds like I'm insulting, but it's very safe at the top with some gamers in the middle that can go off, if that makes sense, which is kind of what a lot of people like to do in those early picks. That's why he took CMC one. It's the safe pick because you're not trying to get shafted by CMC week one when he drops 35 on your head.
Yeah, and kind of that same vein, Nate, look at his top 5 picks, top 6 picks realistically. Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson, Patty, Mike Evans is a walking 1,000-yarder. Rashad White is probably going to get you all the points in PPR for a running back, receiving and carrying. And then George Kittle. Like, you can stop there and you have a really good team. Thankfully, he did stop there and decided to start playing around after that with us. But I appreciate that from Nate. But no, I think these first 6 picks, I think we're exceptional.
Absolutely. We're just going to go through every single team because I don't want to leave anybody out at this point. So we'll touch on everybody's team for sure because we've already gone
except for Jared's. We don't have to talk about his Eagles team.
I was going to start there and be like, all right, we got the Philadelphia Eagles picking between Nate and Kate. Yes, I did the rhyme on purpose. I like the A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts stack. I think those weeks when A.J. Brown gets you 8 catches for 130 yards and a touchdown, Jalen Hurts is going to piggyback off that plus his own rushing touchdown, plus what he throws the Smitty. So I think that's the best receiver quarterback stack for fantasy football, in my opinion, this year, just because of the safe value you get if they're both going to play. I'm still worried about Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase because I need Jamar to practice and Joe to be healthy. I look at Lamar is awesome, but Zay Flowers hasn't quite A.J. Brown yet. Jared Goff and Amon-Ra, awesome, but Jalen Hurts is like the second or third fantasy quarterback. So that's what I think that's the best quarterback receiver stack on paper. Kyren Williams at this value is awesome. I'm worried about him as a punt returner and Sean McVaying, but getting him in round 3 is dope compared to where he's ADP at like round 1. So I like him in round 3 for sure. Brandon Ayuk, now that he's re-signed, Ricky Pearsall just got shot. So I don't know, like there's more, that means more opportunities for Brandon Ayuk, I guess. Like I don't go to San Francisco, I guess. But Kenneth Walker, we love Kenneth Walker. Tank Dell, target machine. Brock Bowers, at least one of my favorite players in this year's draft. I think he's one of your favorites too, as much as
in the draft, yes. For fantasy teams, again, rookies in fantasy, I have a struggle with as far as taking them as your starter. He has no fallback if Brock Bowers doesn't do well.
And then you have Raheem Mostert. We know what he could do. Your boy Javonte Williams, Holly Brown. So I really like Jared's Philadelphia Bulldogs Eagles team as well. So I also we'll touch on Matt as the Jets as well too with Breece Hall and Aaron Rodgers. Love Vlad McConkey. Love Amari Cooper in the middle. Love Isaiah Pacheco and Travis Kelce back to back.
I think that's a great one to have.
Exactly. And then Deebo Samuel, Michael Pittman. I think maybe in very different ways. Pittman's just going to be a chain mover, so he'll get you like 6 catches for 75 yards, the occasional touchdown. Very reliable, probably more in your flex more often than not. But in Indianapolis, he's your receiver 1 by far at this point. And then Deebo Samuel, if he's wearing black Air Force Ones, he's going to give you 30. So we feel good. We feel good about that. But I'll let you go next. I went back-to-back teams. I'll let you jump on one of these that stands out too.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I already talked about Devin. So moving over to the Bears, and again, CeeDee Lamb. What?
It speaks for itself with all the Bears when you go down the line too.
I mean, it's funny though because it starts out with CD, right? Mm-hmm. Goes with CD and then Devontae, and then it's like, okay, by the way, I know what I'm doing still. So his top 3 picks, I really like his top 3 picks. Add Dalton Kincaid in that, it's not bad, but it's probably not the best tight end I would have taken there. CJ Stroud, I think again is a great pick for what you're going to get. Hopefully he does well, but I think for fantasy purposes, I hope he doesn't do well for obvious reasons. David Montgomery, another touchdown-heavy running back, so obviously that's going to be a good one. Probably takes one of the maybe 1B option here in Chicago with Rome Odunze. I think Odunze is a great opportunity pick, and I think he's not as reliant on the big plays that DJ Moore is going to end up being reliant on with Caleb at the helm, because Caleb, which by the way he picked, will be a nice pairing with Rome in this one. And then Zach Moss, I think, is obviously the starter Going to be in Cincinnati if they're smart, and if they're not smart, then he's going to be a touchdown heavy running back. So he's just going to get a bunch of touchdowns every single week with his 2 touchdown heavy running backs and Derrick Henry. So great, that's going to be fun to deal with every week. Beyond that, Christian Watson I think is a great great pick for kind of a boom pick, and then Romeo Doubs as well, kind of pairing those two together. And they took 2 defenses, which I think is interesting. But you know what? I'm not going to hate on him because at least 8 games of the year he's going to have the best defense in the league, and then the other 8 games he's going to give up a bunch of points.
And the Bears do have a ridiculously easy schedule on paper as far as what that defense can do in some of those games. Like, obviously, we expect the Panthers to be better, but that's still Montez Sweat and and Jalen Johnson chasing out. There's the Saints. They play the NFC South. There's a lot of winnable games for the Bears. Also rounded out with the second overall pick too, who basically had to follow your footsteps or steal your pick.
He probably had a better draft than I did, honestly. If I'm being honest about it, I think Greg might have had one of the best drafts in here because I didn't even realize he picked Justin Herbert, TJ Hawkinson back to back, and that's a huge kind of underrated pick late in the draft to go with already Trey McBride, Jaden Daniels, so he doesn't have to worry about Jaden McDaniels not panning out after 5 weeks because he has a fallback option in Justin Herbert there, which is a great thing to have. Travis Etienne, Josh Jacobs, I think is a huge running back core. Alvin Kamara is probably going to be his flex. Jay Jettas, DK are going to get you points. JSN, Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy's a 100% boomer bust situation there, but Patty's going to throw it up to him. You know Patty's excited to have a guy that just runs that fast. It's going to be the most exciting thing for Patty since they decided to make ketchup. So, yeah, this is I think it's an underrated draft pick. But, yeah, it's a draft in this one. But I think for him, I think he had a better draft than I did. And I'd probably say maybe the 3rd best draft for me personally in this draft.
I was surprised to see Jay Jettis go at number 2, but I do think he is very much QB proof. We saw him with Nate Mullins last year put up 25 in 2 different games. I think Sam Darnold's in that offense. He's going to get it's Justin Jefferson. You're safe there as long as he's healthy. When he was healthy last year, he was incredible. The problem was that hamstring injury midway through. Josh Jacobs, I think, is going to be awesome, as you mentioned. I do also want to look at he did what I actually wanted to do with Anthony Richardson with Jaden Daniels. They both have a week. Jaden Daniels and AR both have a week 14 bye week, excuse me. So what I like to do with that is I like to get a reliable quarterback with an early bye week. So if Jaden Daniels / Anthony goes down early, I have a guy that I know is going to play the rest of the way through because the bye week's already done, barring injury. Then I'm just kidding. Then the gods hate me and I'm just going to have all my quarterbacks injured. But there's nothing I can do about that. Where you got Justin Herbert, who has a week 5 bye week. So coming out of week 5, if Jaden Daniels starts to get beat up, you have your quarterback the rest of the way through the season. You don't have to go waiver wire fishing necessarily. So I really love that. JSN in that offense now with Ben Grubb coming over from just up the street at UW, I think we're going to see JSN get unlocked a little bit. So I think having him and DK actually works because I think those are the 2 that are going to benefit the most. If you'd have had DK and Tyler Lockett, I think a little bit less so, or JSN and Tyler Lockett a little less so on a week-to-week basis. So I do love having both of them for sure.
Yeah, no, I like it overall. That's all right. That's everybody in here. But yeah, I think I don't know. I think this is a good draft. I'm interested to see because I think a lot of my players are going to change. If I'm being honest, after my first 6 picks, I think I'm going to end up probably switching a lot, and that's dependent on whether or not I end up trading Malik Neighbors to Nate for Mike Evans. Because if that happens, then my top 7 picks are solidified if you exchange Neighbors and Evans. But Nate, give me a call.
Absolutely. I will also just kind of add one other thing too that I think is interesting is numbers that have shown on research of fantasy football leading teams. The top scoring team, like when you look at their percentage of where they're taken, like the first round picks were in like the 36% of them or so, but then like 36% were undrafted as far as like the players that made a difference on fantasy winning teams.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see a lot of changing as we go forward, but that's to be expected because I could pop back up the board here and we could look at, there are still some good players left. And then there is going to be some random running back somewhere in here, like Tyrone Tracy or Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Roshan Johnson. One of those random guys is going to be this year's Kyron Williams or something like that. So it's going to be a very fun draft. But for those
good.
Oh,
I was going to say, so we got sent a draft grader of our draft, by the way. So all the drafts graded for fantasy and chill. This is by Rate My Team, football guys. All right. They ranked somehow myself as the best draft at A-. Mind you, I'm tied with a bunch of people at A-. The worst draft goes to Jared. with a C+. Although we both have the same strength, which is quarterback strength, air it out. TBD, which I think is yours, is an A-. Roman Empire is B-. Nate is a B+. Go Tigers, which is Matt, is a B. Korner Booth Jared, C+. Are you ready for it? Question mark is a B-. Team Devin, also an A-. Peyton, also an A-. And Greg, also an A-.
So basically, they said they like our teams, but they hate Jared because they got that. So basically, this was just them attacking Jared, is what you're saying.
That's what it seems like. Yeah, it seems like they were attacking Jared and Roman Empire. By the way, they gave Peyton a sophomore breakouts are a thing, right? So yeah, that's there.
You know what? That's perfectly fair. I get that as well. But those of you who are just tuning in, let us know down below who you think had the best draft, what you think of them overall, and what are some of the picks you hated and some of them you liked. I want to hear what picks people hated. I want to see the ones that people looked at and like, what are you doing? And I want to hear some of the ones that people did like as well. This is a very fun draft for us. This is friends, family, and the Korner Booth goons is basically what this league really should be leading to. Yeah, they get their own separate category though. I got to find a way to call them goons somehow because that's what Jared refers to us as. But this has been a very fun draft. There's money and pride and bragging rights on the line too. So we'll definitely be sure to check back in later on in the year. But let us know down below, hit the ones you love, the ones you hate. Be sure to tune in on the HighLowSports podcast every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time for our weekly show. This next week, we'll be right before kickoff. We'll be predicting our Super Bowl champions and our awards. So you don't want to miss out on which one, how wildly off we are this year or how wildly accurate we are. It can go both ways. There's no in between. There's no kind of both ways. It's not kind of close. It's either spot on or it is spot off. That is how they've been the history of it in the 5 years we've done it. So definitely tune in for that. But we appreciate y'all for joining us along the ride for this draft. 91 minutes, not too bad for 16 rounds. We will definitely take it, but we appreciate y'all for hanging out with us. We will see you all again next time.